Welcome back to another Japanese lesson. In today's lesson, we're going to be talking about the Japanese vowel sounds. I'm going to teach you how to write these vowel sounds in hiragana. I'm going to give you some vocabulary words based on these vowel sounds, and I'm going to teach you some greetings, how to say hello and goodbye a couple different ways in Japanese. I've got a tablet right here with me, which is going to help me draw all this stuff for you so you can see the stroke order and you can see the easiest way to actually make each symbol you're going to learn today. Let's just jump right into it. What are the Japanese vowel sounds? Similar to English, where we have A, E, I, O, U, in Japanese we have A, I, U, E, O. Let's move to the tablet really quick. So an A in Japanese is pronounced A, as in awesome. An I in Japanese is pronounced E, as in beach. A U in Japanese is pronounced U, as in you, u. An E in Japanese is pronounced E, as in set, pet, let, E is how you pronounce the Japanese E sound. And finally, O. The Japanese O sound is pronounced O, as in or, your, door. O, almost like O-H. O is how you pronounce the Japanese O sound. A, I, U, E, O. Pretty simple, right? Let's talk about how to write each one of these symbols, because as you're learning Japanese, it's important to know how to write each sound that you're learning. So let's hop over to the tablet again. Stroke order is something extremely important in Japanese. So when I'm teaching you these symbols, I'm going to teach you the exact way you should write it, and you have to write it in that exact order, otherwise things might come out a little wonky later on. So the symbol for A is written first the horizontal line, then the vertical line, and then we have this weird looking C shape. So we start from the bottom side right here, we kind of come back around and go over just like that. So that's A in Japanese. You'll see people writing it handwriting, a little bit different sometimes, but it basically looks like this right here. So to go over the stroke order one more time, we're going to have the horizontal line first, then the horizontal line followed by the vertical line, which is going to be slightly curved. Horizontal line, vertical line, and then the C shape that ties it all together. So that is the hiragana A in Japanese. So E is pretty simple. You've got this little line with a tail on it and then a little line on the other side. Now this second line right here should be smaller or equal in size to the one on the left. So if you're gonna make one bigger, make the left one bigger. It does not look like this. This looks like a different hiragana. So what you should write is slight tail on it and then smaller side right here. You will see people write it just like this sometimes, but it does technically have a tail on it, so I'm going to teach you it with a tail. Just put a slight tail on it. It doesn't have to be big. Make sure it's not a check mark like this right here. It must just be a very slight tail to it, just like that, and then a line over. So that's the symbol for E. Now the symbol for U. So you have a downward facing line just like that, and then like a little candy cane looking thing right there. That's U in Japanese. Again, downward facing line, then downward facing line, followed by that little candy cane thing. Pretty simple to write U in Japanese. Just remember the top and then bottom afterwards. Top and then bottom. Keep in mind, it's always going down right here. It's never going up like that. You always write it down, just like that. So U. That's how you write the U symbol in Japanese. Next is E. This one some people have a little bit of a difficulty with, but don't worry, it's not really that hard. So we have the same symbol as we did before, that little line coming down above this, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna come over here like this and come back down, almost like we're gonna make a Z shape, and then we kind of give it a little tail at the very end. So E looks like that right there. So almost like a Z, and then it's got like a little tail that comes across the bottom like that. I'm gonna show you that one more time. So a little line going down, just like the U that we had before. Then we come over, come back down, and we come back up a little bit, slightly just like that. That's a Japanese E symbol right there. E. E. You can kind of make that a little bit smaller. I made it a little bit too big up here. E. E. Just like that. Last symbol is O. First we come across, just like a simple line like we did with A. Then we come down and back around in one stroke, and then add a little accent right there on the side. So it should be horizontal line, followed by this piece right here. Horizontal line followed by this piece, and then a little accent on the side just like that. Now this piece right here looks like this. So it's almost like we're gonna make a J, but we make it like a sharp coming around just like that. So let's go over each one more time. A is horizontal, then a line down, then the weird looking C. E is a little line right there with a tail on it, and another line afterwards. U is a line going down, that weird looking candy cane. E is the line going down with the weird shaped Z. And then O is a line going across, line going down just like A, but then we come across, put a little line at the end of it. A, I, U, E, O. Those are the Japanese vowel sounds. So A is for A-O. A-O in Japanese means blue. So the color blue in Japanese is ao. I is for ie. Ie means house in Japanese. Not to be confused with ie, which is actually no in Japanese. So if you say ie, that means no. Ie means house. U is for ue, which is up or above in Japanese. So if somebody says ie no ue, that means the house's upper part, on top of the house. Ie no ue ni hito ga imasu. That means a person is on top of the house. And lastly, o is for oi, which means a lot or many. Neko ga oi means there is a lot of cats. Ie ga oi means there's a lot of houses. A is for ao, I is for ie or iie, u is for ue, and o is for oi, which means a lot or many. So there are a couple vocabulary words to help you understand some of these hiragana symbols. So what I recommend doing with this is writing each symbol over and over and over again, like 25 different times on a piece of paper. Here's how I would do it. So for a, what I would do is I would put a, I would put ah right here, so I knew what the sound was. And then I would put 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So I knew how to draw it, right? Then on the line underneath it, I would just go like this. Ah, ah, saying it out loud as you actually write it down. Ah, 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 and making sure that you write it the exact same way as you see up here. You can see right here, I'm getting this little circle a little bit too big because I'm writing too quickly. So maybe slow it down a little bit. Ah. Do that until you actually have each character memorized and you know exactly how to write each one. I'm going to teach you between 5 and 8 new characters each lesson, so we got to make sure that you have them memorized. A, I, U, E, O, the Japanese vowel sounds. Now, let's put these vowels into practice while we actually learn some Japanese phrases, specifically how to say hello in Japanese. Good morning in Japanese is ohayo gozaimasu. This Ohio right here is kind of pronounced like the Ohio state in the United States, Ohio. But keep in mind, it's not Ohio, Ohio, it's Ohio, Ohio, Ohio. Ohio, Ohio, Ohio. Very similar in the way it's pronounced, but also a little bit different. Ohayo gozaimasu. Now, gozaimasu right here is something that you add to a couple different phrases in Japanese that makes it more respectful. So when you're speaking to somebody that you don't know, or somebody that's above you, like a teacher or a boss or someone that you're just not familiar with, you'll use more respectful Japanese. And this is an example of that. Gozaimasu is something that you add to the end of certain phrases in Japanese to make them more respectful, including ohayo. Ohayo gozaimasu is how you would say hello to someone you don't know, or an acquaintance, or a teacher, or a boss, or something like that. But if you're talking just amongst your friends, you could just say ohayo. Ohayo also means good morning. It's just used amongst your peers, amongst people that might be subordinate to you, or right about the same level as you, or someone that you're just kind of friendly with. You could say ohayo for good morning in that case instead of ohayo gozaimasu. But once noon rolls around, you can't really say good morning because it's not morning anymore. You would have to say good afternoon, which is konnichiwa. Konnichiwa is probably the most known Japanese phrase to say hello, but it specifically means good afternoon, not good morning, not good night. It's good afternoon only. Now this word right here, konnichiwa, is actually 3 different words put together for this phrase. You have kon, nichi, and wa. Now kon means this, nichi means day, and wa is kind of a way to say how is it? I'll get more into this specific wa in a later lesson, but just keep in mind in this case, it's kind of like saying, how is it? So kon means this, nichi means day, and wa means how is it? So konnichiwa means how's the day going today? How's your afternoon? Good afternoon. Now this wa right here, something I want to point out really quick. This wa, a lot of people will spell it like this, which is the hiragana for wa, but it's actually spelled with a ha at the end of it, but it's pronounced as wa. That's something I'm going to talk about in a later lesson as well. But just keep in mind, if you already know the hiragana alphabet in Japanese, konnichiwa is spelled with a ha and not with a wa. So, konnichiwa, good afternoon. What about the evening time? You can't say konnichiwa and you can't say ohayo gozaimasu. In the evening time, you would say konbanwa. Konbanwa, very similarly to konnichiwa, is 3 different words to make this phrase. Kon, ban, and wa. So if we remember from konnichiwa, kon means this. Bang means evening or night. I'm just going to put evening. And then wa is kind of like how is it? And just like in konnichiwa, this wa is actually spelled with a hiragana ha symbol, not with a hiragana wa symbol. So very similar to konnichiwa. Konbanwa means good evening. How's your evening going? Konbanwa. Now, something to keep in mind is that konnichiwa and konbanwa both have a wa sound at the end, but you don't really pronounce the W really heavily in this. Konnichiwa, konbanwa, almost like you're barely trying to say a W. You might even hear people say konnichiwa, konnichiwa, like you barely hear that W, almost like it's not even there. That's just like a slight nuance in Japanese pronunciation. So now you know the Japanese vowel sounds. You know how to say hello a couple different ways in Japanese. But what do you do after you say hello to somebody? You say hello to them and just walk away? No, you gotta ask them how they're doing. And how you say that is, o genki desu ka? O genki desu ka is how are you? So this phrase right here is o, followed by genki, followed by des, and then finally ka. So just like in ohayo gozaimasu, this o right here is just something to add to make it more respectful. So this is like the most respectful way to say how are you. Genki means happy, or it can also mean health. In this case right here, it's kind of asking how their health is. Hey, are you healthy? How are you doing? Des is a verb that means is, and ka is a question mark. Anytime you see a Japanese sentence ending in ka, just know that that means it's a question mark. When you say ka in Japanese at the end of a sentence, you don't write a question mark because the ka takes the place of a question mark. You can ask questions without ending a sentence in ka, but just know that anytime you see ka, it's going to be a question. O genki desu ka means most respectfully, happy health. Like, how's your health? Are you doing good? This is the most respectful way to say it. If you're talking to your friends, you don't have to actually say it this way. How can you say it if you're talking to your friends? Well, you could do it a couple different ways. You could drop the o, so you just say genki desu ka, which means how are you? This is probably the way that I would say it. I don't usually say it with the o, even if I'm talking to somebody that I don't know. Just genki desu ka is usually how I would say it. Or you could just say genki with a question. Genki also means how are you, but it's just a little bit less respectful, something that you would use mainly amongst your peers and people that you know. On the reverse side of this, if somebody asks you, genki desu ka, what is the appropriate response? The appropriate response is to repeat what they said, just not in the form of a question. Genki desu is how you say I'm good. So again, genki can be happy or healthy, and desu means is. It's a verb that means is. So genki desu is happy, is healthy. I am good. I am happy, I am healthy. Now, when people are asking you, genki desu ka, how are you? They're not actually really asking you, like, hey, are you okay? Just like in English, if you walk into a store and somebody says, hey, how's it going? You're just supposed to say good. You're not supposed to say, well, I got a lot of taxes due and I've got a headache today and my gas tank is almost empty and I've got to go get gas and I'm not really feeling it today. We don't actually care. We're just saying, hey, how's it going? So very similar in Japan, when somebody asks you, genki desu ka, they're not necessarily asking how you are. It's just a polite thing to do. But if you did want to say, I'm not good, here's how you would say it. Genki janai desu means I'm not good. So as I told you before, genki means happy or healthy. Janai means not or isn't. And desu means is. So genki janai desu means happy, not is, or is not healthy, is not happy. So genki janai desu, I am not happy, I'm not doing good. Somebody asks you, how are you? You say genki janai, means I'm not good, I'm not doing well. Now, if you're talking to your friends, again, you don't have to use this desu at the end of this if you're talking to your friends. You could just say genki janai, which means I'm not good. Okay, so a friend came up to you, said, Ohayo gozaimasu, genki desu ka? And you've responded, genki desu. Now what do? They said, hello, how are you? You said, I'm good. What do you do now? Maybe you could just say goodbye. Here's two different ways you can say goodbye in Japanese. So the first way is ato de ne. Ato de ne means see you later. So ato means after or later. De means by, or kind of like when. And ne is an ending to a sentence in Japanese that's kind of like right, yeah? So ato de ne means I'll see you after, yeah? I'll see you later, yeah? Ato de ne means see you later. You could also say bye-bye. Bye-bye. This is just a borrowed word from English. Bye-bye means goodbye. It's not something that you would only associate with children, whereas in English, people say bye-bye. That's kind of more childish. In Japanese, bye-bye doesn't necessarily mean like a childish way to say goodbye. It just means goodbye. I'm gonna go ahead and throw one more in here for you. Another way to say goodbye is ja ne. Ja means well, and ne means yeah, or right. So ja ne means well, see ya. Well, yeah, gotta go, bye, ja ne. It's a little bit less formal, so you wouldn't say ja ne to somebody that you don't know, usually to peers or friends. Ja ne means goodbye. Something you might have heard in the past is somebody picking up a phone and saying a phrase in Japanese when they answer the phone. That phrase is moshi moshi. Moshi moshi means hello, but it's specifically for the phone. You would not say moshi moshi to somebody in real life. You would say moshi moshi only to somebody on the phone. People will also pronounce this as moshi mosh, so you don't necessarily say moshi moshi. Sometimes you say moshi mosh. That's just something that's specific to the phone. So just an additional, little tidbit of information. All right, that's the end of today's lesson. I taught you a, I, u, e, and o, the Japanese vowel sounds. I taught you some phrases to say hello, how are you, and goodbye. And I've also given you some vocabulary words to go over. So make sure that you write these symbols a, I, u, e, o as much as you can, and try to remember these vocabulary words as well. By the time I teach you all of the hiragana alphabet, you're gonna know quite a few vocabulary words in Japanese, along with some phrases as well. So be sure to check in next week for ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, even more vocabulary words and some phrases that are going to be very beneficial if you ever go to Japan. And remember, if you become a Patreon supporter, not only do you get discounts on merchandise and any photography related things that I release, but you also get each one of these Japanese lessons a week early on top of additional videos once a week. So you get 2 videos a week instead of just 1, and you get it earlier than everybody else. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a wonderful day. Minna-san, ato de ne. Bye bye.